Hello everyone, and welcome to my Mesh 540 Capstone presentation. My name is Casey Ledbetter, and today I'll be presenting on the food landscape of Warren County, Missouri, a case study of a peri-urban food desert. The road to the capstone. Starting with Mesh 501, my process began with an interest in food access in rural Missouri. While I am not from a rural part of the state, I am from a rural adjacent region of Missouri, and the accessibility to different foods, even for me in suburban areas, was vastly different from the food access in the cities that I lived in on the coast. My initial journey began with analyzing health issues in rural areas as they related to food access and insecurity. The journey continued with exploring opportunities in rural America and Mesh 531, environmental justice, with better understanding of the history of rural regions and how socio-political systems have so drastically shaped their current state. Mesh 510 Sustainable Food brought in factors from the global food system and continued the research of health as it relates to food access for rural people in the country. Mesh 521, Getting to Zero Waste, allowed me to explore how waste, hazardous dump sites, and landfills disproportionately affect rural people and what that effect has both on their health and also on their ability to grow food and access healthy, nutritious foods. Lastly, to round out the general course pool, Mesh 520 Sustainable Energy helped me to understand the story of how energy plays an important role in rural life, which includes their ability to grow and access food. Throughout the course of the program, I followed a targeted path to better understanding rural life, the food access in rural areas, and ultimately how health and culture will deeply affected by current state of rural life. The research question. Coming into the capstone, I initially struggled to narrow down to a research topic that was on the subject of everything that I had previously studied, that was impactful and personal, and feasible within the allotted timeline. Throughout many weeks of trial and error, I landed on performing a case study of a food desert in Missouri to best understand the issue of rural food access through the lens of one subset of the population. The research question is, what are the factors that classify a Warren County, Missouri census tract as a food desert, and what is both being done and can be done to improve food access to the groups of people that live in this area? Additionally, can these solutions be applied to other similar regions across the state? Warren County is not far from my hometown, which held a bit of personal touch for me, but this also meant that there was some personal bias at play. Perhaps the biggest piece of bias that was that I originally chose Warren County because I perceived it to be a rural area. However, it is classified by many definitions as an urban area. This brought in a new element to the project of investigating peri-urban regions, they're fairly loose in classification and definition, but peri-urbanity is the towns on the fringe of rurality, but not located in a populated urban center. And I came to find out these areas are not well studied, and research on food access in peri-urban areas is a gap in current literature. The capstone process. So the research process to answer the proposed question consisted of archival research. I gathered data and information from government reports, local Missouri newspapers, local organizations, and Missouri universities to assess the food situation in Warren County. The most critical exercise I performed throughout the course of the project was a mapping activity, seen in the top left here. In here, I tracked many of the physical sources of food as well as other physical elements that could have impact on anyone living in the food desert related to their ability to access food. While this map was vital to the entirety of my research, there were two main takeaways. First, there is a sufficient presence of supermarkets in the area, and this felt surprising at first since the food desert classification is so heavily reliant on supermarket access. But this holds true to research that supermarkets alone do not guarantee increased food access for a region. The second key takeaway was that there is no presence of small farm direct-to-consumer options in or around the food desert. And this was interesting because of the high level of farming that is present in the county. Community mapping pointed out many locally affected opportunities with food access in the area, but to better understand the broader global and national factors at play, I performed a levels of analysis diagram. This showed how the growth-oriented mindset of the food industry, along with the high production of processed foods, was impacting food access even in a small peri-urban town of Warren County. Lastly, one of the main goals throughout the research was to investigate data from the USDA's Food Desert Atlas and essentially perform a data mining exercise that was unique and pertinent to the study of Warren County. I found two important notes throughout this process. First was that there's a gap in SNAP benefit eligibility versus people receiving the benefits. This gap was determined to be present because of a number of reasons, including SNAP deployment programs, access to internet and in-person sign-up centers, and social stigmas associated with being on the benefits. And the second important note further solidified findings of the high amounts of farming but small amounts of direct-to-consumer sales for farms in the county. Application beyond Warren County. One of the main goals of performing the case study on a small subset of the food desert population in Missouri was to be able to apply the results across the state. Further diving into SNAP benefit data for the state, I found 38 of the 240 identified food deserts in the state of Missouri that matched income levels, peri-urban geography, poverty rates, and transportation access that were similar to Warren County. And these 38 regions are charted here on the right to show the eligibility for SNAP benefits versus the percentage signed up for SNAP benefits. The gap in those being able to be on the benefits isn't unique to Warren County. This issue is spread across the state, and thousands of Missouri residents are not receiving the government-supported benefits. And this points out many flaws within the broader state and national SNAP benefit system that need to be addressed. Where do we go from here? Throughout my research, my eyes were widened to the vast realm of systems present that affect food access in Missouri. While all these could not be captured in this study, I ultimately landed on two main suggestions. First, increasing SNAP benefit usage, and second, increasing community-based agriculture systems. While there are many projects that can aid in food access, the research methods performed point to those two as being important options that should be explored. So where does the project go from here? This research was solely archival. This was mainly because of accessibility to the region and timeline, among other factors. Further research should work to obtain the voice of the customer, or in other words, attempt to connect with the people living in Warren County, Missouri, to better understand the research question from their perspective. Further research could work to understand direct-to-consumer small farm sales throughout the state, and if they also line up with what was found in Warren County. And this could prompt further investigation and investment into community agriculture systems throughout the state to bring food to those who need it most. And I'd like to conclude by saying that this project was one of the most challenging things I've ever done, and it tested my abilities unlike anything before. It was frustrating, thrilling, everything in between. And I would just like to extend my deepest gratitude to the professors, the MESH staff, and my fellow classmates for their guidance and support to bring me and this project to life. And I'm really, really proud of where it landed. So thank you. Thanks for listening.